Hello from Johannesburg. We are here in Sunning Hill today and we are speaking to Roy Westfehling, who is the CEO of Westech. Roy, thank you very much for hosting us here today at your offices in Sunning Hill. Tell us a little bit more about Westech and what you do.
Okay, thanks for having me. Yeah, Westech is a IT service provider. I opened the company when I was 21, so 29 years ago. Started in a garage. And the primary function at the time was to provide IT services for companies. I had come from an IBM background where I felt that I could do it better myself, purely because of the service levels that I felt could be improved on. So my primary goal was to open an IT company and provide IT services and computers to companies that needed it. And there was a market for it, and yeah, that was 29 years ago. It went really well.
That is incredible. I don't think I've heard that before. Well done, Roy. You should be very proud of what you've achieved.
Yes, that's a great achievement.
Absolutely. So Westech today, if you have to look at, you know, when you were 21 and today, how do you feel Westech has grown since then?
Well, it's been a gradual growth. We've, like any company, we've had our ups and downs, but many more ups than downs.
Good.
Where we are today is, we're in a great position. We support companies all over the country, mainly in Johannesburg, Cape Town. We've got customers in Durban. We have clients and worked with companies in Europe, Canada, and Australia. So we do a fair amount of support from South Africa outwards. I had a goal at some point to become a IT service provider from South Africa into Africa and Europe, because you know, instead of having to deal with India, the tech hub of the world, why not do it from South Africa, where we could be in a similar time zone and not have the language barrier?
Yes.
That's still a long-term goal. It's not that easy, but we do have customers in Africa, South Sudan. We've had companies in Germany, the UK.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That is definitely something to be proud of.
Yeah, needs to grow a bit, but it will.
So I hear that you're very hands-on within
Yes.
your company. So tell us about a typical day for you here at Westech. What do you do?
Good. Start early. Start with a good cup of coffee.
Absolutely.
And then straight into checking emails. I normally prepare the night before for the day ahead, so I'm pretty prepared when we come in. And then meetings are scheduled, you know, in advance. And yeah, we kind of get through things. I have a desire to make sure that what we do happens at speed. And I try and get that message across to the rest of the team regularly. I'm sure they think I repeat myself, but yeah, speed is everything in this industry. So yeah, that's us today.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I did also hear that you often have one-on-ones with each one of your staff members. Now, that's something interesting from a CEO perspective. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I've done many of those. I like to be in touch with the staff. Working remotely sometimes becomes a bit disconnected.
Yes.
So when I'm here, I try and meet as many of the staff, either in a group or one-on-one, and just see how they're doing. Because, you know, working via Teams or whatever it may be, it can sometimes come across, or on email, might come across a bit harder than in person. So, yeah, and I like to ask them about their day and what their journey has been like at Westech and where they plan on going. And a lot of the questions are around sort of career path. You know, where do they want to go? What do they want to strive to be in a year from now? Often people say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's too long. In this industry, it's way too long. You know, where do you want to be next year and in 2 years from now?
Okay.
So, yeah, really enjoy engaging with the staff.
I think that's commendable.
Thank you.
Very nice. I think you mentioning careers and skills is exactly what CompTIA is about and what we really like to talk to CEOs about. Okay. Tell us what you do at Westech in terms of career development for your team, from an HR perspective, and skills development.
Okay. So when we look for staff, we would prefer to bring skilled people on board.
Okay.
But often we look at personality and attitude before skill, because skill can be taught.
Very true.
And we also like to bring in sort of the younger generation, to bring in some new energy. But when it comes to, having one-on-ones and getting information back from the staff and sort of guiding them into which direction they want to work towards, we would then ask what it is that they're interested in. Often being in the company, for 6 months or a year, people tend to change their minds because there's a lot happening in the company, from HR to technical to sales to account managing, and also in terms of getting to know the products. So depending on where they are in their journey, we would then guide them on their choices. We do have a Westech Academy that we've started.
Okay.
And that academy will prepare them, giving a sort of a roadmap on where they want to get to. And then we would either send them on a course, or we'll do some internal training with them. And then we do progress and monitoring, and just help them grow. I like nothing better than to see people thrive in the business.
Yes.
It's not about the Exco team, it's about the group of people within the company that need to grow and thrive. And I'd love it if that happened in our business.
Yes.
Yeah.
I looked at some research CompTIA recently did, and there's a global trend at the moment to favor certifications, industry certifications above degrees, which is quite a mind shift. A lot of companies have always insisted on degrees. Is that something that's important for you when you recruit?
Not necessarily. Look, any degree or certification is a bonus because it builds the foundation for what's to come in the particular field. So, I would prefer to bring people in with certifications. I do think that there are, many different choices as you go on your sort of career path, and they could branch out into any direction. So having a career set on one specific goal might be a little, not narrow-minded, but something to consider, because there's so much more, because the industry is growing so quickly and so rapidly, especially with the AI era that we are in now. Anything can happen, but it's definitely a good starting point, a good foundation to have certification, but then build on top of that, like building a house. You've got your foundations and then your brickwork and the roof. So, I think certification can be important, but it's not everything.
No. It isn't. So, as you probably know, CompTIA focuses a lot on the foundational skills with our A+ and Network Plus.
Yes.
We also have our free skills gap assessment that I use to help companies to assess different job roles by mapping it against our certifications, and then we show them where the gaps are. Now, some of the things that often come out of those assessments are that companies see a skill that somebody has, but they might be in a different department, and they move them to another department, and they see, talent that they might not have seen before. So a very good tool to keep in mind if you do ever want to do that.
Thank you.
The other thing is, with our research, we also saw a lot of companies are looking at individuals that fit their company culture. So it was interesting that you mentioned attitude and, the personal skills, because that's a very important part.
It is, yeah.
In terms of individuals. And I'm sure your company has the same thing.
Yes, we do. Our culture is pretty relaxed, but it's, work hard, play hard. I don't like to have an environment where it's too strict and sticky.
Yes.
It does need to be relaxed, but, get on with the work. We have had situations where, we kind of tracking and monitoring what everybody's doing, and then it becomes, why are you micromanaging? But it's not really that. It's more, are you doing the right thing? So it can be construed sort of differently. But I think the people that complain about that are the ones that might be hiding things. But we pick these up in our interviewing sessions. We've got 3 or 4 rounds of interviews. First it's, a phone call, then it's a face-to-face or a Teams meeting, then face-to-face. And then we do assessments and see where they're at and whether they'll be a right fit. And there's nothing worse than bringing in somebody that doesn't fit, because it upsets the whole apple cart.
It does indeed.
But attitude is everything, and I think if everyone has a similar attitude, then everyone gets on really well.
So, just coming back to Westech, do you have any projects, community projects, or any projects where you uplift young individuals or train young individuals? Do you have any such projects that you run?
Yeah, we have from time to time brought in learnerships.
Okay.
We did something in the past where, we brought the staff in, especially technicians. They'd come in and they'd sort of job shadow the techs here, and they would learn how to put a computer together or, fix things, but nothing formal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you recruit those? Did you have a specific relationship with someone that you recruited them from? Or?
I don't really recall where they came from, but it was an informal arrangement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just bear in mind, if you ever do that again, CompTIA has about 300 training partners that are accredited by us across Sub-Saharan Africa, and they train young individuals that are probably a good fit for your company. So we can always help you with some individuals if you are looking for that.
Yes.
Okay, great. When you look at individuals and how they get into IT, you've now told us or shared with us your journey, which is quite unusual because not most people will be starting a business at 21. But what advice do you have for young people who want to get into IT as a career from your perspective and your experience?
I think look at all aspects of IT, because there's, you know, if you're technical and you like to fix things, then maybe go into the networking side. If you're more of a thinker, then maybe development or software development side of things. I tried both. I wasn't very good at software developing, although I did enjoy it in the beginning, but it wasn't my passion. I enjoyed fixing machines, so I studied A+, N+, and then I went into networking and I studied a lot of that and moved into higher certifications like Novell at the time.
Yes.
So my advice to young people looking to get into the industry would be to look and identify what they would be passionate in doing, whether it's IT networking or building computers or development or solving problems. I also think reading is super important. Read. If you can get in front of a book, whether it's AI from A to Z or it's around networking or customer service, because it all comes together, you know, read as much as you can. If you don't like reading or it takes too much time, maybe you get Headway or you get Audible on board. I use both of them and I read a lot of books. So I think it's really important that young people embrace the reading because, you know, you're going to pick up a lot of things through that.
Yes.
Not everyone has time to read books.
I know.
You know, the retention of information on reading is about 10%, audio is about 20%, but actually doing and physically working, you know, it's 80%. So,
Big difference.
you know, getting into a practical environment, I think is really important, and shadowing the techs if that's what you like. If you prefer dealing with people, then maybe sit with a sales team and become an account manager. Yeah, so there's many angles to go into, and once you have a foundation and you decide where your passion is, then it's always a good idea to then maybe sort of move across the different divisions in the company and see where you're headed, because there's always so much change. Like AI has been around for a long time, but it's definitely plugs into everything.
That's
so
true.
if you know, educate yourself on what's happening in all areas of IT, I think it will benefit you along the way.
I think people at first were scared AI is going to replace jobs, but most of us have learned that it can be very helpful.
Yes, definitely.
Roy, thank you so much for chatting with us today. It was nice to learn more about Westech as an organization and what you do here. I still think, wow, great to start a company at 21, and here you are today. You know the statistics in South Africa about companies surviving, so I think that's commendable, really great. It was lovely to meet you, lovely to be here today.
Thank you for having me, Lorraine.
No, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
And that concludes our chat today with Roy Westfehling, who is the CEO of Westech here in Johannesburg and obviously also have branches elsewhere in the country. Thank you very much, Roy. It was lovely to chat to you today. And that is it from Johannesburg. Thank you. Bye.